Hello, my friends, family, esteemed colleagues. I was asked to address menstruation and menstrual cramps, cramping, the pain caused in many women during the menstruation. First, why do women why do they menstruate? The reason for it is obvious. Women are meant to be the robot that reproduce life. And to create new life, this robot is made in such a way to self-maintain, like everybody else, and self-regulate to keep itself in as healthy state as possible. Same is with women. But since women have to bring new life, there is a special emphasis made on this robot to keep especially the organs involved in the reproduction system as clean as possible to be able to nourish the new growing life. And here, of course, it's not only uterus and ovaries, but here is involved also breasts and, in general, the blood circulating system, because all this will be under a higher burden during the pregnancy. We know that uterus prepares itself to receive new zygote, fertile egg, and to support its growth. Lining of uterus is very important to be maintained clean. So after every month, the body, female body, is triggered into cleansing this system. But to cleanse the system, well, what is it cleansed by? It's a blood and lymph, but basically blood. Which means that the blood itself should be maintained as clean as possible. Since it is a programmed thing, nothing happens just because. It's a programmed thing. There is a program embedded that does this thing. So when the program is triggered by sensor, the body goes into this frequency of cleansing, which will affect blood circulation system, and it will involve the female reproductive organs. Remember, including breast. Now, when body is well hydrated, blood is going to be relatively clean or clean. Having a clean blood, perfectly clean blood, is impossible, especially with our health recommendation, health food recommendation, which are based on promoting toxic plant diet. So there is no way that the blood is going to be clean. Even if we drink a lot of plasma, if there is a lot of plasma in the blood, but still these toxins, plant-based toxins which we are accustomed eating, our body has genetically acclimated itself to ignore it, to tolerate it. So, it is not toxin that body goes berserk and says, oh, I gotta eliminate this is poisonous for me. It has adjusted to this. So the toxicity always remains. The problem is that when we drop the blood plasma, level of blood plasma, well, this creates problem for body to cleanse blood, because blood is cleansed through plasma, not water, plasma. We don't have water, we have plasma. Electroconductive water, made electroconductive through ions, which are salts. And whenever we detoxify, we are going to lose plasma. But when it comes to female reproductive organs, uterus is being cleansed and actually loses blood. And when it eliminates blood, the more blood is toxic, the more of the blood it will eliminate. It will not only clean the lining of the uterus, but it is actually going to eliminate as much of this toxic blood as the programs that runs it allow. Which means if woman is more or less well hydrated on a circulatory level, the body can spare more blood to do the cleansing. And also, during this cleansing process, if it is noticed that, again, program checks it, and it says, okay, well, this blood is toxic, we have X amount of blood, we can lose this much, let's get rid of it, because then the body creates a new blood which will dilute the overall toxicity of the blood in the body. This is why women in general are healthier than men, because they detoxify every month. And they get rid of this toxic blood as much as they can. Men would feel much better if they would go and donate blood every month. Pint of blood, get it out. Then they would have similar opportunity to maintain the blood relatively cleaner as women do naturally through menstruation. Once when woman stops menstruating, it stops eliminating, and as the toxicity shifts in the body is programmed to react to it genetically and creates hormonal adaptation, which we then blame the hormonal change causing this menopausal syndromes or symptoms. None of it. It's all created by toxicity of the blood. Now, when we are talking about uterus, for example, we know that the inner lining, endometrium, increases in size. Now, when else does it increase in size? Also, if it is becoming inflamed. And during menstruation, there is a rhythmic spasmatic action of uterus. It's making spasms, producing like a cramps. And this is not going to be painful if there is no inflammation going on. But if there is inflammation in uterus, or formation of cysts, which also increase the size, when you have a spasmatic action, it increases then pressure on sensory nerves, and discomfort or pain is going to be showing up as a symptom of a problem, inflammation. Now, if we are looking at what our experts talk about it, well, they mention, okay, causes. What causes the cramping of the pains, the cramps during menstruation? They say endometriosis. Well, endometriosis doesn't cause the pain. Endometriosis is a symptom of toxic endometrium, increased in size, inflamed because of toxicity caused by toxic blood, toxic elements that came. So, again, we are blaming one symptom to cause the other, and both of them are caused by culprit, toxic blood. Uterine fibrosis. What causes the fibrosis? What causes fibrotic tissue? What causes the connective tissue to become white and visible? Severe dehydration. You dehydrate protein and it shows as a white fiber, which then we call cirrhosis. Again, what causes this? Toxic blood. Again, blaming one symptom to cause another, it's nonsense. Adenomyosis, same thing, like endometriosis, just shown in different part of uterus, or more muscular part of uterus. So I made videos about it, wrote articles about it. Okay, all these things, pelvic inflammatory disease, any inflammation in that area is going to cause pain when uterus cramps down, makes a spasm, because it increases already elevated pressure on a sensory nerve. And this is why these cramps, menstrual cramps, could be experienced as overall just heaviness. I just don't feel good, because it's a lower inflammation state. So when it's cramping, not such a great increase of pressure. But higher the inflammation, the bigger size of the endometrium, of the lining of uterus, and when spasm occurs, creates more pain to sensory nerves. Risk factor. Okay, which women are in risk of having cramps? Okay, I cannot believe this stupidity. You're younger than age 30. Okay, so you're younger than age 30, so it will be more normal for you to have these cramps. Why? Because when you are young, your reproductive organs are more active. They have to be maintained clean, because the older you get, the less chance of you becoming pregnant. And of course, lesser cleansing is going on. Plus, you already have been dehydrated for years, for a long time. And the body becomes slightly more tolerant because it has adapted to the toxicity. It's adaptation. Same as we adapt to toxic food, and then we don't sense it being toxic. But once when we eat correctly, and we cleanse, and telomeres extend, and then you eat the same food that normally you had no problem with, and you end up in hospital because basically your whole intestinal tract freezes being poisoned. Happened to my wife, when after years of not eating lentils, she had lentil soup. Okay, she ended up in hospital. Completely, the whole intestines inflamed and stopped moving. And gas being produced through bacterial manipulation of the toxic stuff could not be expelled, so it was increasing pressure, and wherever you touch her on the stomach, she would be crying. And how many people eat lentils and they pray to God, yeah, it's the best food, this is full of proteins. Misled schmucks. We are all misled schmucks through this science of Kabbalah. So, if you start puberty at early age, earlier than 11, well, why would you start menstruating early? Because your body is more toxic. The more toxic is your body early in age, the sooner you are going to start menstruating, and the sooner you are going to finish the menstrual cycle, and shorter lifespan you are going to have. I explained this, that our genetics point to us having lives of at least 600 years. We don't have it. All the animals, wild animals, they still relate to the programming. We don't. Why? Because we poison ourselves. The moment we start eating plants, we make our body toxic, we are reprogramming it, and shortening the age. In the past, women would menstruate when they are 16. This is why Sweet 16 parties were made. Even now at 16 you are becoming, like adult in some of these religions. But then it was 14. When I was growing up, it was already 14 was the age. Then dropped to 13. Then 11, now it's 9. We get all these things. Toxicity rapidly increases in young body, and lifespan is cut down. Since the overall lifespan is mathematically related to the adolescence. So as soon as we become empowered to procreate, which happens through menstruation, it shows you, okay, your uterus, your organs, everything is ready to receive the zygote. Well, from then, you then count another 20, 25, 30 times the age, and you will get to the maximum living age you can achieve in this environment. But the thing is, we constantly in a body, that is in a body, not that is around you. But we continue poisoning ourselves, and we are cutting down on the years that we could have lived, and we are becoming more and more sickly because we are toxic, extremely toxic. And this is why if a woman starts menstruating with 9, she's not going to live more than 40. Because now we see that women that were menstruating with 13 and 14, they can easily live 100, 120 years with this poisoning. When it was reduced to 11, they could live 60, 70. When it goes to 9, 40, 45. Here in a store, my friend that I helped, with health, he had multiple problems, and he is overhearing conversation. So he started talking to this young girl, cashier, and she tells him, "Oh yeah, I have these problems and that problem." And he said, "Well, how old are you?" She said, "Oh, I'm 28." "No, sorry, 22." And he said, well, you should not have these problems. I said, oh yeah, well, my ancient mother also had this very young. And he said, your ancient mother, how old is she? Oh, she's old, she's 45. 45? When I was 45, my life started. So we have misconception and we blame always the wrong things. When women go to menstruate, when they start the cycle, it's not that only hormones are preparing now this cycle, because under the frequency of cleansing, there is a shift, hormonal shift. But it also affects the heart and blood circulation, because they are all part of this process. And again, it's not the hormones that are creating this. It is the vibration. It's a program that triggers the vibration, and then hormone change under influence of this vibration. So what happens, since the body vibrates in this, it shifts energetically, and this is creating a shift in aura. Aura is the electromagnetic field around our body. In physics, we call it electron field. Electrons don't exist. It is actually vibration. And we are immersed in it. It's like a balloon that is around us. Actually elongated. It's oval. And when other woman comes into this area, she gets affected with the vibration. And it is known fact that where women are working together, they basically menstruate at the same time, because one influences the other. And we call this germ transmission. You got infected, germ. There's no such a thing. Everything is based on energy. And they tried with saliva. You can take saliva of a menstruating woman and put it on a saliva of non-menstruating woman. Nothing is going to happen. But you bring menstruating woman close, the closer it comes to non-menstruating woman, the non-menstruating woman will be triggered into menstruation. It's frequency. Everything is based on frequency. Frequency runs those programs. And we have to understand this. So there is much more to menstruation than what we are being told. Where do we see what happens if there is not enough plasma in the blood? Well, the programs calculate and they say, well, we cannot eliminate too much blood because we would be endangering the system. So if there is the dehydration going on a circulatory level, women are not going to menstruate much. When do we have really very strong dehydration of circulatory system of blood and lymph? Well, we call this lupus, when the system shut down, tiredness. And what do we know? Women, when they have lupus, they do not menstruate. There is simply no a drop of plasma that could be sacrificed for cleansing. So now, you get also now all symptoms of menopause. together with problems of toxic blood and connected to also the reproductive system. And you have a variety of problems. Then you start mixing symptom of this. We see symptoms of lupus. We see symptoms of this. Okay, it happens that this woman also doesn't menstruate. You see, wow, this woman also could have endometriosis, or it could have some kind of a cirrhosis. And then we thought, well, those are all symptoms of lupus. No, those are all symptoms of toxic blood and toxic body and dehydration. You give lupus client plasma and you will see how quickly they start recovering. I have big experience with this, a lot of experience with this, mostly in women. So there is no mystery in anything the body shows us. The mystery is to us because we have been misguided through Rockefeller Foundation and science that is promoted, called popular science, which we are forced to absorb in a school. We are purposely being miseducated, so we don't understand anything, and what we understand is all wrong, and we pride ourselves with high titles of high knowledge of bullshit science. Science, as I call it. Okay, my friends, I hope, and ladies, I hope I explained this sufficiently. If you suffer from cramps, menstrual cramps, or if you bleed profusely, now you know why. Or if you don't bleed enough, you know why. Thank you for listening. Till next time, love you all. God bless you. Namaste.